Yo, what's good? What's up? Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. It is a fine and dandy Wednesday, July 10th of 2024, and there's a lot to get to here on the show as we pass along the latest Eagles news, rumors, analysis, as training camp is just a couple of weeks away. Coming up here on the Eagles Now Rundown is a new team emerging as a suitor for James Bradberry if the Eagles look to trade him away. I'm going to explain why the Philadelphia Eagles can bounce back in 2024, and we're going to look at some ugly data from last year, which really points out how unprepared the Eagles were and how bad their coordinators were. Both with Brian Johnson and Sean Desai, the Eagles, one of the favorites to sign four-time All-Pro safety Justin Simmons. And we're going to do a mailbag here on Eagles Now, so we want to hear from you. Let's go. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat to get featured here on the program. Training camp coming up on July 23rd. That is 13 days away. Who is excited for Eagles training camp? Because you think about that, right? That means that Eagles football is quickly approaching, right on the horizon, preseason, regular season, hopefully a deep playoff run. Type me, and we'll give you some shout-outs here. Producer Chip on the ones and twos, making the show go, making it all possible. I see NFL edits, Kane Angel, go Eagles and Warriors, Gregory Weiler, typing me. Chip, I know we've been busy for Sixers free agency, NBA free agency, but nothing matches the excitement, the intensity of NFL football and Eagles football.
Oh, nothing even close. And I was watching the Giants offseason Hard Knocks last night, the first two episodes, and even though it's the Giants and everything, just getting back into some football, man, and just seeing, they were showing clips of, some of the Giants games from last year and just watching it, I realized it's been too long since we've seen some actual football be played. I'm so ready. It's been long enough. Now we're just, a month away? I'm so excited, man. It's time. It's time.
The Receiver documentary dropping today on Netflix, 8 episodes, an hour each. I'm excited to watch that. The NFL juices are flowing right now. I see Ernesto Ojeda, Johnny Collins saying, "Go Birds!" Antonio Holmes typing me, and he said, "What a shocker. Justin Simmons." Well, when the odds makers have Philadelphia as one of the favorites to land him, it's worth talking about. Here's our Super Chat menu if you want to have some fun on this hump day. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10, I will crack this beer and we'll have some fun, take down some brewskis here on the show. $20, I'm dropping down to do 20 push-ups. 50 for a beer bong. If anybody is big, bad, and bold and you want to send in a $100 super chat to support the show, I'm doing a beer boot. We also want to do that mailbag, so use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. That's hashtag Eagles or super chat to get featured on our mailbag. All right, more than 100 people watching live. Let's get at least 50 likes before we start segment number 1. So I need 25 more people to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video, because if you're ready to talk some Philadelphia Eagles football, I need you to hit that thumbs up icon. Carlos Rivera said, "Carlos from Florida, fly Eagles fly." I was just in Florida over the weekend. I flew back very early Monday, and then we were doing some shows here from the studio later that day. Jordan, what's good, my Eagles fan? Gregory, the Giants are bad. Yes, they are. They're also in shambles. That Saquon Barkley is an Eagle. 11 likes away from 50. Who are the 11 real ones who are going to hit that thumbs up icon like the video right now? NFL edits. Do you think Bradberry is getting traded or cut or kept? You let me know. I'm ready to talk some Eagles football. My dog. Really like the profile picture there as well. Jalen Hurts, all pumped up. And we are going to talk about James Bradberry during segment number 1. So hang out, because that's coming up just around the corner. Chuck S., howdy from the 570. Lived there for 3.5 years, as many people know. Dante, fly Eagles fly. Gregory, he hit that thumbs up icon. He liked the video. 6 likes away from 50. And then we can officially start the program here. Trade for Noah Brown, Eric Peterson. That's an interesting name. midlife redemption, Howie for MVP. Earth is watching from the 804. Type in Go Birds. We're about to go right here on Eagles Now. 4 segments on the docket. Excited to break it all down. Chip, Chase, the Bird Gang hanging out. So without further ado, let's get it up. Let's get it running. Let's get it cranked up here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Segment number 1, a James Bradberry trade. Could it happen for the Birds? Let's get the show underway. Segment number 1 starts right now. Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. As always, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. So many great content creators out there covering the Birds. We believe that we do something special here on Eagles Now, so we always enjoy when you come hang out here with us and stop by. On the show today is a new team emerging as a James Bradberry suitor. And could the Philadelphia Eagles send James Bradberry across the state to Pittsburgh? The Pittsburgh Steelers could be in the market for a cornerback following the suspension this week of cornerback Cam Sutton. So could they make a deal for Bradberry to bring in the veteran? First, let's have some fun here on the show. If you think Philadelphia runs the state of Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia, by the way, America's birthplace, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video and spam PHI down in the comment section. Let's start off with the latest around Cam Sutton, because that really does get us started with the conversation about a potential James Bradberry trade to Pittsburgh. Sutton, suspended 8 games without pay. Why? He violated the NFL's personal conduct policy, and he will be eligible to return on Tuesday, October 29th, following the Steelers' Week 8 game against the New York Giants. Sutton last year was playing with the Detroit Lions. He signed a 3-year, $33 million contract, and he only made it 1 year into that deal before he got in trouble, and then he evaded police. He was on the run for a long while. Not a great legal situation. He did start every game for Detroit a year ago after spending his first 6 years with the Steelers. That went a long way in Mike Tomlin and Pittsburgh bringing him back because of the familiarity with the organization. And Sutton did not play well as part of that 3-year, $33 million contract, which paid him on average $11 million per season. He struggled a lot for a Detroit secondary that really from start to finish a year ago was not good, and that's why they addressed it in a big way in free agency and in the draft, especially in the draft and taking Terrion Arnold. Overall PFF grade for Sutton last year, a 56. Run defense grade of 68. Pass rush grade of 50. A coverage grade, which obviously is the most important statistic here, of 53.9. A passer rating allowed of 113.9. 701 coverage snaps. He picked off 1 pass and had 6 pass breakups. Last year with the Lions, he did play outside corner. This year, he is projected to play in the slot for the Steelers. He did a lot of that his first 6 years in the National Football League while with Pittsburgh. His snaps by alignment a year ago, and that's a big part of this conversation, because if the Steelers were to trade for James Bradberry, they want to have confidence that Bradberry can play out of the slot. Last year, 948 snaps on the outside for Sutton, 38 in the slot, 69 box snaps, right? In 2022, still a large sample size as an outside corner with 655 snaps, so the workload there pretty large, but in the slot, 185 snaps. In the box, 71 snaps. So as you look ahead for the Steelers, once he comes back, he's expected to assume the slot role duties, where former Eagle Josiah Scott has an opportunity to maybe crack that roster and fulfill that role as well. The Steelers' cornerback depth chart. On the outside, they do have Joey Porter Jr., who played really well as a rookie once he was put into the lineup as a first-round pick out of Penn State. Dante Jackson is their cornerback 2, and then Cam Sutton is their slot guy. So if the Steelers were to emerge as a trade destination for James Bradberry, they might want him to play out of the slot. Last year, Bradberry did a little bit of that. Remember when Matt Patricia and Sean Desai were experimenting with Bradberry on the inside just because he wasn't holding up well at all on the outside? That's really where a bulk of the 126 snaps came from. Outside corner, 852 snaps, and then Bradberry was in the box for 71 snaps. In 2022, when he was the second-team All-Pro, he was strictly an outside corner, 965 snaps on the outside, only 10 snaps in the slot, 99 snaps in the box. So the Steelers looking for a corner. If it's James Bradberry, he can probably be had for a 7th-round pick, but they're going to have confidence, or going to have confidence that Bradberry can play that slot nickel role. If a Bradberry trade does happen, or whenever there is Eagles news that's going down, we cover it right here on Philadelphia Eagles. Now, that's why you hit that subscribe button for daily coverage of the Birds. As for the Eagles roster building construction here, and as it pertains to James Bradberry, the Eagles could pretty much afford to give Bradberry away thanks to their corner depth. They're going to have to eat some of the money and take a little bit of a financial hit because of the deal that they signed him to. But Howie Roseman addressing a lot of the weaknesses in that secondary this offseason by drafting Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in rounds 1 and 2, bringing back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You have Isaiah Rodgers coming off that gambling suspension. And then you're also hoping that Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks can take those next leaps going into year 2. The Eagles' pass defense last year, horrific, bad, awful, really hard to comprehend just how terrible they were. Philadelphia gave up 35 passing touchdowns a year ago, and Bradberry was a part of that. His 2023 Pro Football Focus numbers on the right side of the screen here. Overall grade of 56.6. A year after, he had an overall grade of 74.1. His coverage grade dipping from 80.2 to 54.7. The passer rating when targeted doubled year over year. And the workload, the coverage snaps, pretty much the same in consecutive seasons. Another reason why the Steelers make sense, in addition to having a need at that corner spot, with Cam Sutton being suspended by the National Football League, they do have the late round draft compensation to give up in a Bradberry trade. Of course, the draft picks as far as specifically where they are to be determined, because the draft order not yet set in stone. We'll understand and know that following the 2024 campaign, but the Pittsburgh Steelers do have a 6th-round pick and then 2 7th-round picks to give away if they want to make this move for James Bradberry. Why it could work is that the Steelers already have a really good defense. Now they have a hole at that corner spot, and Bradberry could go there with that strong front, making the back end's job a lot easier, and he could be a veteran who can quickly grasp the defense, play under Mike Tomlin, play well there, and hold up there. And at the very least, if he doesn't play spectacular, he could be that holdover plan until Sutton comes back. Cam Sutton, one of those players who got the bag in free agency, went somewhere else. Now he returns to Pittsburgh, familiar environment, familiar system, where he played really, really well for the previous 6 seasons to earn that bag. Could we see an interstate trade, and would you trade James Bradberry for a 7th-round pick? I have a feeling a lot of people are going to say yes to that. That's all good. If you want to say no, that's all good as well. Just share with us what you think in answering this poll question right now. Super chat coming in from Angela G. Hope all is well. As always, I'm late. LOL, hi Chase. That is a problem I run into often in life. Oftentimes, I am late to things. Sometimes I take my time. I'm a busy guy. I don't really like to rush if I don't have to. And I just have a lot on my plate. Here's our Super Chat menu for our live show here today. About 100 people watching live, 61 likes. Please make sure you continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. All Super Chats will get a shout out, just like Angela's. $10 for a beer cheers, $20 cranking out 20 push-ups, $50 for a beer bong, $100 for a beer boot. We're going to look ahead to segment number 2. I'm really excited about this segment because we are going to contrast and compare how Philadelphia fared in 2022 when they made it to the Super Bowl as compared to 2023 when they were, as Charles Barkley would say, terrible. And some of the data, some of the trends, some of the statistics, they are crazy for the dip in overall production, play, look, scheme, year over year. So if you want to be informed, continue to hang out here with us because I promise you, nobody else on YouTube is bringing you a segment like this right now on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Let's do it. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for hanging out here with us. Coming up on the show, you are going to be informed today. And I guarantee you, nobody else is talking about this on YouTube, and that's why you hit that subscribe button right here on Eagles Now for daily shows on the Birds. We're going to break down, dissect, and explain why the Philadelphia Eagles will be a problem for the NFL in 2024. And we're going to compare and analyze problematic data from the 2023 campaign and also compare that to 2022 and take a look at what made the Eagles successful 2 years ago when they made it to the Super Bowl and why they were so bad in 2023. Because the issues here are correctable, and that's why I think Philadelphia is going to be a mightily improved team this upcoming season. Get involved, though, first. If you think the Eagles can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl and get back to the big game in New Orleans, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you think this team is flawed and they're going to flounder this year, I want you to comment why. Hopefully we get as many people hitting that thumbs up icon as possible. The clear issue with the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion, and we've talked about this subject matter here on the show, it was blatant. It was obvious. The Eagles were a poorly coached football team, and the data, trends, scheme, the numbers back that up. They were bad. The changes at offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator going into this upcoming season are massive for Philadelphia because the inexperience from Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, who had never called plays at the NFL level before, and Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, who had 1 year of play calling experience, were killer. In 2023, the Eagles led at halftime in 6 of their first 12 games. They got off to slow starts week after week after week. This offense was monotonous. This offense was slow. This offense lacked explosion. And on average, the Eagles were losing by 1 point at halftime in those first 12 games when, funny enough, the Eagles got off to a good start. They started last year 10-1, but there were problematic trends in which the wins kind of covered up. You compare that to what the Eagles did in 2022, the Eagles trailed in just 2 games during that same sample size. And they led by an average of 7.8 points at halftime. That was by far and away number 1 in the NFL. They built up those early leads. They got off to fast and explosive starts. And in the second half, they could rest, they could coast en route to a victory. So offensively and defensively here for the Eagles, because I think both units are going to be able to help each other out, I think the Eagles should be able to start off faster in 2024. They have talent. They're going to be better coached. And in looking at some of this data, they're going to be able to correct some of their flaws. Specifically with the offense, there were so many issues with this offensive unit last year. And for Jalen Hurts, he was not helped out by bad play calling, bad coaching, and a bad offensive system. There was a lack of hot routes when the blitzes were on. There were no sight adjustments to help him out. The Eagles, weirdly enough, with DeAndre Swift balling out when he actually did get carries, did not commit to the run game, especially with the pass game being predictable and struggling. The Eagles were 32nd among 32 teams last year in pre-snap motion, and Brian Johnson was clearly in over his skis. I imagine a lot of you right now already on today's show or in the comment section saying, Nick Sirianni, it's his fault. He's a fraud. Nick Sirianni will not escape blame from me. He is to blame because this was his offensive system. And he should be hit with some of the reasons for why Philadelphia struggled offensively last year. After all, he's an offensive mind, and the lack of adjustments, the lack of creativity, that can be put on Nick Sirianni's plate. More on the Eagles' offensive woes in the first half last year. In 2022, when the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl, they averaged 9.5 air yards per attempt, 2.67 seconds to throw, 30% of their attempts holding the ball for 3+ seconds. They had a 30% pressure rate, and 17% of Jalen Hurts' throws were at or behind the line of scrimmage. You compare that to 2023. 7.5 air yards per attempt, 3.04 seconds to throw, 39% of their attempts holding the ball for 3+ seconds, a 39% pressure rate, and 25% of Jalen Hurts' throws were at or behind the line of scrimmage. I know that's a lot of data, but to summarize those problems, the Eagles threw the ball much shorter despite holding onto the ball longer, and Jalen Hurts was pressured more. And the Eagles' deep pass game, which in 2022 was dominant and explosive with Shane Steichen calling the offense, fell off a cliff. In 2022, 0.44 expected points added per attempt, a 38% success rate on deep throws, 14.9 yards per attempt. In 2023, look at how much the EPA goes down. The success rate went down by 20 points to 18%, and the yards per attempt nearly slashed in half from 14.9 to 8.3. And then the Eagles' passes behind the line of scrimmage. Where was the vertical pass game with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with Dallas Goedert? In 2022, 20% of the Eagles' passes were behind the line of scrimmage, 6.4 yards per attempt. In 2023, 28% of the passes were behind the line of scrimmage, 5.3 yards per attempt. The Eagles also moved slow on the offensive side of the football. They lacked offensive pace. In 2022, they were the fastest paced offense in the NFL, 25.9 seconds per play in the first half. In 2023, that went up by 4 seconds, 29.7 seconds per play, number 25 in tempo. And that all makes sense now that we think about it, right? Brian Johnson took forever to get play calls in. He took an eternity to relay things from the sideline to the earpiece of Jalen Hurts. And then the Eagles were slow to get to the line. And how often did we see Jason Kelce so frustrated by all of this? I don't think that's going to happen with this man here to my right in Kellen Moore. He is a much better offensive mind. He's much more accomplished and experienced at the NFL level, and I truly believe that Kellen Moore can fix these issues. The Eagles have plenty of talent on offense, and you compare that with the defense helping the offense out more, and then having a better play caller, play designer, and a better offensive scheme, that's partially why the Eagles can take off and take over in 2024. More to get to here on the show as we're only getting started. But if you want a Cooper DeJean shirt, they're available now. Kelly Green and Black at chatsports.com/DeJean. One of the best conversation-starting shirts that you will ever wear. And you can support us here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. We've sent these all across America, so get yours today. chatsports.com/DeJean. From the offense to the defense. Naturally, because of the experience of Vic Fangio and his amount of time at the NFL level, I think the Eagles should drastically improve the defensive unit. These Eagles defensive numbers from 2023 make you want to cover your eyes. If you want to cover your eyes, just listen to me. The Eagles were ranked 31st in the red zone and 30th on third downs. If you don't know, there are 32 teams in the NFL. The pass rush went from ranked first with a league-high 70 sacks in 2022 to 23rd in 2023. And so Philadelphia here has added Bryce Huff. You're hoping Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis can take leaps. Nolan Smith going into a big sophomore campaign. You bring in Devin White. You're better at corner. You bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You have a lot of talent and an experienced defensive coordinator. Bottom line, The Eagles' defense was mind-numbingly bad. Couldn't get off the field on third downs. They could not tackle. It was a bad defensive scheme. I just don't envision how that happens under an experienced defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. Another topic I want to hit on today's show, and why I think the Eagles will naturally improve this year, is the strength of schedule and the rest advantage, rest disadvantage. Coming off a Super Bowl, the NFL did the Eagles no favors last year. The Eagles had a minus 6-day net rest edge in 2023. That was tied for 6th worst in the NFL. And there was one game where they had more rest than the opponent. It was the Super Bowl rematch against Kansas City, but the Chiefs were also coming off a bye. And then during that gauntlet against the Buffalo Bills, the 49ers, and the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles had rest disadvantages in each of those matchups. The Eagles' net rest edge ranking in 2024 is second. That's great news. After a difficult schedule last year, they have the 9th easiest schedule in the NFL, and they also have the number 1 overall year-over-year improvement in strength of schedule of the passing game in teams that they play both offensively and defensively. And you think about that, right? When you make a deep run and you're playing football into February, and then human nature factors in, where emotions factor in, and you lose the Super Bowl in the manner that you lost the Super Bowl, in which you are sad, down, and depressed for a long time, and then you're also tired and beat down, having a rest disadvantage is not ideal coming off that deep run. I hope you enjoyed today's show, because going into training camp, going into the season for Philadelphia, we will continue to provide you with coverage just like this. Want to give a shout out to Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis. His NFL 2024 preview book is out. And in reading that, I was able to come up with all of those trends and stats because this man works diligently to make us smarter football fans. Be sure to subscribe to us here on Eagles Now. You're not getting this content anywhere else, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a real one down in the comment section. Earth, $1 super chat. Angela G and Earth with the super chat so far, and Earth is a first time super chatter. Gog said, hello, Mr. Eagles reporter guy. I don't consider myself a reporter. I can see why other people would think of me as that. I deem myself as a talk show host, an analyst, not really a reporter. I used to do that in my previous job. I was on television. I had the mic. I was out in the field. I was doing reporting. Now I like to share opinions in my analysis, but I guess that works. Super chat menu. All super chats get a shout out, like Earth and Angela G. $10. Who's going to send that in so I can crack this beer right here? $20. I did an early morning workout, got up at 5:30, but I'll still crank out 20 push-ups for the Bird Gang. $50 for a beer bong. If anybody sends in a $100 super chat, I'm doing a beer boot.
So Joe Lord asked during that segment, so if I super chat you 100 right now, you'll do a beer boot at 4 p.m.?
Correct.
The answer is yes, Joe Lord.
Correct.
And
It's got to be built different.
3:30 for us here over in Central Time, so little midday beer boot on a wacky Wednesday to get it going.
Joe Lord said, I'm very tempted. How about if you send that in? I'll do the beer boot. And Chip, what are you doing?
I'll do a beer bong.
Beer boot and a beer bong if you want to donate to the show. Because we get pumped up when people send in a donation. We want to say thank you. And we also like to have some fun here on the show as well. Coming up next, I know some of you are interested in a Justin Simmons update. Some of you, like Antonio Holmes, are not interested in a Justin Simmons update. But the Eagles are one of the favorites to land him. We're also going to round out the show segment number 4 with the mailbag. So use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. Get those questions in right now. Our second to last call. GOG or GOG said, I don't know if you're a reporter. This is my first time here. Everybody welcome GOG onto the show. First time watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm going to get it started. by typing GOG.
Welcome, GOG.
In the comments section. Welcome, my brother. It's good to have you here. Kyle Goodnow said, I work with a relative of Nigel Bradham, and he reminded me of how we don't keep linebackers. Also, could our new offense help our defense shut down the middle of the field? I kind of explained some of that on how I think both units are going to be able to help themselves or help each other out here in 2024. You do make a good point about the Eagles' positional spending at the linebacker spot. What would you guess are the two position groups where the Eagles spend the least amount of money? Let me know down in the comment section. And let's go, let's see. I think people are going to be able to predict it. So the Eagles, among 32 teams in the NFL, they invest the 28th least amount of money at the linebacker spot among 32 teams in the NFL, and they are 30th among 32 teams in positional spending at safety. It's been a constant problem for the Eagles where they don't like to invest there. Now, it's worked out. They've won a lot of football games since the turn of 2000, really. They've been one of the most successful teams in the NFL. But that's part of the reason why we're talking Justin Simmons here on the show. And let's do that right now. Justin Simmons, segment number 3. Go Birds, let's go. Yes, we're talking about Justin Simmons again here on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. Why is that? Well, with a couple of weeks to go until Eagles training camp on July 23rd, the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the betting favorites to sign the 4-time All-Pro safety. And with that, we pop up today's poll question. Should the Eagles sign him? Type S for sign, P for pass. Let me know and share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section. As for the latest Justin Simmons next team odds if he does not return to the Denver Broncos, where he's become a heck of a player since being drafted in 2016. The New York Giants, the odds-on favorites to sign Justin Simmons at plus 400. Philadelphia, second at 6-1, followed by the Buffalo Bills at 8-1. The San Francisco 49ers at 9-1, and the Cleveland Browns at 9-1 as well. One of the reasons this makes sense for the Eagles, and we'll go through many reasons here on the show, is the money that they have available. Philadelphia currently has $25.7 million in cap room per over the cap. That is 11th in the National Football League, and they're definitely not going to use all of that money for Justin Simmons, so they could use some of their financial capital that's available to pay Simmons and either use that money elsewhere, save it for the trade deadline, or roll it over to next year where the Eagles' cap situation isn't as good as what it is right now. As for the latest on Simmons and how things are developing on this front, you had James Palmer of the NFL Network saying he doesn't see anything happening anytime soon with Justin Simmons, because he knows he's not going to get paid, and that's giving him patience. He has received offers, but now he's seeking a good fit. After years of losing with the Denver Broncos, he wants to go somewhere where he can win. That's why it's a little bit weird that the New York Giants are the odds-on favorites to land him, but those other teams on the betting odds list, they're all playoff caliber and Super Bowl contending teams. Why I think Simmons to Philadelphia makes sense and why I'd pull the trigger on this move if I was general manager Howie Roseman. On the market right now, for an affordable price, is one of the best safeties in the National Football League. One of the biggest weaknesses on your team, in addition to off-ball linebacker, is safety. And he dramatically improves the secondary, which last year was one of the worst units in the entire National Football League. Problematic stats coming up here in just a second. You can also use C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the role where you're able to maximize him as a player and his strengths. He can kind of roam all around the field and be that Swiss Army knife like he was for the Eagles back during the 2022 season when he tied with Justin Simmons for the league high in picks. In that secondary, which now has an influx of youth in Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, as well as still young players Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks, you get experience a team captain, and a player with a lot of swagger. And the Eagles last year really struggled to generate turnovers. What do Simmons and C.J. Gardner-Johnson do very, very well? Read the eyes of the quarterback, have a good feel and temperature of the game. They can diagnose plays, pick off passes, and generate turnovers. Justin Simmons is a player on that back end who the Philadelphia Eagles can trust. In 4 straight years, he's had at least 69 tackles. Since coming into the league out of Boston College, he leads the NFL in interceptions. He has been a turnover-generating machine where he's not only that center field ball hawk who's really good against the pass, but he can also be a disruptor around the line of scrimmage and punch the football loose. His coverage numbers last year in 15 games allowed a completion rate of 63.9%, went in the neighborhood of the nearest target, that is below league average. Gave up 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keep in mind, the Broncos' defense not great. And he had 8 pass breakups at the safety spot with 3 picks and allowed a quarterback rating of 85.9. I think that the Eagles can get by with C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship as their starting safeties, but let me ask you this. If one of these players here went down, do you have confidence in the backups to step up? Or if you signed Justin Simmons and had him and C.J. Gardner-Johnson on the field together at the same time, with Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown as backups who can still see the field in diamond nickel packages, I think that makes your defensive unit a lot more dangerous and deeper at the safety position. More to get to here on the show, but make sure you sub for Eagles Dubs. And if you're looking for elite coverage of the Birds, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. It's my goal this football season to get Eagles now to 100,000 subscribers, because then YouTube sends us that plaque, and it's going to be absolutely epic. As for those aforementioned Eagles defensive numbers from 2023, this is also why Justin Simmons can help out this defense. The Eagles last year were ranked 31st in the red zone and 30th on third downs. Justin Simmons is going to be able to help the defense lock down the opposing offense in the red area, and he's a playmaker who's going to help you on third downs. The Eagles' pass rush went from ranked first in 2022 to 23rd in 2023. Part of the reason they dropped, they didn't generate the same pressure, but the Eagles' secondary on the back end could not hold up in coverage. Thus, the Eagles' defensive line could not get home soon enough to the quarterback. And the Eagles here have added a lot of talent defensively. They now have an experienced defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio, who Justin Simmons is familiar with because he played under Vic Fangio with the Denver Broncos. He understands his scheme, and he can help out a Sidney Brown, a Quinion Mitchell, a Cooper DeJean to just help this unit improve. This does continue to be an issue for Howie Roseman and his team-building strategy. The Eagles don't spend a lot of money historically at the safety spot. They paid C.J. Gardner-Johnson a decent sum, but this year they're allocating $6.15 million to the safety position. That ranks 30th among 32 teams in the NFL, a year after the Eagles spent the least amount of money on safeties in the NFL, with their ranking at 32nd. And then you go back to what Justin Simmons would be able to help this defense do, generate turnovers. Because again, since coming into the league in 2016, he is number 1 in picks. The Eagles' 2023 turnover margin was -10. It didn't help that the Eagles' offense committed the most turnovers on first down since the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2015, but they were sloppy, and they couldn't generate turnovers. That's why the turnover margin, -10. Eagles gave it up 28 times. The Eagles' defense, after they did a good job of generating turnovers in 2022, only took the football away 18 times. It's just not going to translate to a lot of wins. So to really summarize all of this, it is a no-brainer. The Eagles have a need at the safety spot. Justin Simmons is a really good player. He helps you improve. And they have the money to pay him. I know that we've talked about Justin Simmons a lot, but I'll counter that any complaints by saying, do you want to win a Super Bowl? Do you want this Eagles defense to improve by leaps and bounds here in 2024? I do. I don't want to see that defensive unit that we saw last year. It was terrible, as Charles Barkley would say. Make sure you give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior, approaching 13,000 followers on X. The Instagram has been humming, putting out a lot of short form content, talking NFL, talking birds on my social media pages. And once the season gets here, we're really going to ramp things up. Here's our Super Chat menu. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10 for a beer cheers, 20 for 20 push-ups, 50 for a beer bong, 100 for a beer boot. Where's our guy who was saying I'm tempted for the beer boot? Jacob, marketing nutritionist, my guy. Thanks for watching the show. I told you earlier, Logitech camera for my at-home. The cameras that we use here, I was right. It's a Canon. I was able to look for you right now. Always a real one, always commenting, always watching the shows. Appreciate you, man.
Gregory says make a Phillies now by Chat Sports. Would love to cover the Phils. Hey, for any of you who are interested in baseball, by the way, the MLB draft is this Sunday. I'm going to be going live with our MLB draft specialist, Jack. What's his last name?
Lotteray.
Jack Lotteray. I blanked on his last name. That's crazy.
Jackie Baseball.
You know why? It's because we just call him Lotteray, and so I was like, Jack. I never call him Jack, so it confused me. But yeah, we'll be live on Sunday for the first round of the MLB draft. If anyone wants to join on the main Chat Sports channel.
Yeah, Greg, I would love to talk Phillies, man, but we are so stretched thin, no Diddy, that it would be so hard to also add Phillies to the arsenal. If I could just script shows and host them, I think I'd be able to do it. But I got a lot of other duties here at Chat Sports.
A lot of duty.
Might just keep me from doing that. A lot of duties, no Diddy. Jacob, I got you. Andrew Nathan, how long we been hanging out for? I'm late. At this point, we've been live for about 45 minutes, my dude. And we have one more segment to get to. How we doing on questions?
Let's see here.
Get those questions in. Last call to get involved in our mailbag.
We got like 3 questions, so we could use some more questions. Use that hashtag Eagles. Get on the show, people. Get on the show.
If you don't want us to do a mailbag, we just won't do a mailbag.
Kyle Goodnow, you asked a great question earlier about the Eagles' positional spending and how the new offense could help the defense. And if you ask that question again with hashtag Eagles, we can get on the show. But
yes, sir.
If you don't use the hashtag, we cannot get it on the show.
By the way, Chip and I have been crushing it, as Angela G points out, on 76ers now. We're approaching 800,000 views over the last 28 days. We picked up 2,600 subscribers during that time frame. It has been a very eventful stretch on 76ers now. So if you like the Sixers, Chip and I running it up over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, questions flowing in now from Kane Angel, Andrew Nathan, the Razor. Some good questions, too. It's what I like to see, man. It's what I like to see. I know the people got questions, and we got answers for you. Jacob, marketing nutritionist, getting the question in. That's a great question, too. Biggest disappointment on offense prediction? That's a good question. All right, let's see. I think we should be ready to rock here. Last chance to get them in. We're about to start the mailbag, so if you want a super chat, you get your question answered at the start of the show, guaranteed. Otherwise, it's up to me. And I'm going to do my best for you. I got you. Everyone's asking some good questions. We should be able to get to all of them. So.
Let's go.
Dennis says, hold on, Chase. What is Dennis planning?
Dennis, you don't want us to start the mailbag?
What's going on, Dennis? What are you planning here? Angela, much love. Appreciate it. I always see Angela in the comments on Sixers. Angela's a real one. We appreciate you.
Dennis, hold on. What's up, Dennis? David Marcella, welcome back, my guy. Who will have a better season? McCaffrey or Saquon? Kane Angel, Dennis Designs, where were you? Dennis, I also need you to check your YouTube settings, man. I try to respond to your comments, and it says that I'm not allowed. I don't know what happened.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's weird. Is anybody going to watch? Oh! That's why Dennis said, hold on. Just got back from Upper Manhattan. He was working on a big-time super chat. Dennis Designs. Dennis Designs. Dennis Designs. Dennis Designs. My man. My man.
Wow.
So what do we got to do, Chip?
That is...
If we get another 50, I'll do the beer boot, by the way. Another 50, I'll do the beer boot. I know we said that if we got to 100, or if we got a 100, I would do a beer boot. If we get to 100 total, I will do a beer boot. So we are 47 away. 47 away from 100. If we get there, I'm doing the beer boot right after this upcoming mailbag.
The 50. Dennis!
Dennis Designs. How was Upper Manhattan, man? I don't really like New York, but it's good to visit as a tourist.
New York.
See, that song... Oh! Dennis Designs! Dennis Designs! Dennis Designs! A $50 super chat! E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles! No one likes us. No one likes us. No one likes us. We don't care. We're from Philly, fucking Philly. No one likes us. We don't care. No one likes us. No one likes us. No one likes us. We don't care. We're the Eagles, the fucking Eagles. No one likes us. We don't care. E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles. All right, so I'm doing the beer boot. Chip will do a beer bong. And we'll do that after this mailbag.
Let's go. Dennis. Getting weird on a Wednesday.
Everybody type DD in the comment section.
Them double D's.
Dennis Designs with the double D's. Eagles or Phillies? That's a good question. Philly's a great baseball town. But it's when the Phillies are winning. I mean, you've got 81 home games, and if the baseball team is bad, the environment just isn't going to be electric, right? But the environment is always electric for Eagles games. And the intensity and the passion is always there. We can expand on that in the mailbag coming up. So we round out with the mailbag right here live, Eagles Now. And then we'll do that beer boot, and then Chip will do his beer bomb. Here we go. Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, we're going to open up the floor and hear from our real ones and all of our loyal subscribers. You have questions, I have answers, but also as part of our live show, it's an opportunity for you to share your analysis, share some hot takes and opinions right here on Eagles Now as well. As always, thank you so much for subscribing, watching, and supporting. Hit that thumbs up icon, share the video, hit that sub button, comment. It all goes a long way in supporting everything that we do here on Eagles Now. First one coming in from NFL Edits. Love the profile picture there of Jalen Hurts jacked up. Chase, do you think that James Bradberry is getting traded, cut, or kept? That is a very good question, and one of the big looming questions for Philadelphia going into training camp. On top of that, with Bradberry, what position is he going to play? Is he going to play outside corner? Is he going to play in the slot? Is he going to get some snaps at the safety position? Nick Sirianni, prior to Bradberry getting hurt in the spring, said, we're going to try him out at slot and at safety. I found that to be very interesting because we asked that question to Howie Roseman during the NFL Scouting Combine, and he said, I think that James Bradberry is more of an outside guy. He also said that James Bradberry is going to be on the team. I can't see how you keep Bradberry when you have a lot of talent at the cornerback spot, a lot of young players who, why would you let them go for an older veteran who is clearly in decline? I know that you're going to have to eat some of that salary for James Bradberry, but Howie Roseman is a magician with the cap. And the Eagles are also deep at other positions, so why would you keep him at the expense of others if he's not even going to see the field? Sometimes you have to cut your losses. I think that's what the Eagles do. Maybe for a corner desperate team, they can get a 7th-round pick, but it's an interesting storyline going into Eagles training camp. Kate Angel, random question. This is not promising, but since Saquon Barkley joined with the Eagles, do you think that we will dominate the Giants twice? Well, if you think back over the last 10 years, Philadelphia historically has dominated the New York Giants. Philadelphia is 16-4 in their last 20 games against the Giants in the last 10 years. And I don't think that they're going to be a great football team. I don't think that Daniel Jones is the answer at quarterback or has ever been the answer at quarterback. I do really like the young receiver who they drafted, Malik Neighbors out of LSU. Along the defensive line, when you have Dexter Lawrence and you have Kayvon Thibodeau, they can cause a lot of disruption, but they lost Xavier McKinney, their top safety in free agency. They're not great at the cornerback spot other than Deonte Banks. How are they going to be able to cover A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then other really good offenses in the NFC East and in the NFL? And their offensive line continues to be a joke. So I do think that Philadelphia should sweep the Giants this year. If they lose it all to the Giants, it's kind of a disaster. I know it's going to be a game in which the Giants are very motivated and taking on Saquon Barkley. They're pretty salty that he dipped for Philly, but he got disrespected by the Giants offer. Joe Shane, as he said in Hard Knocks, let Saquon test the market to see what the market was, and clearly the market from Philadelphia was better than what the New York Giants were willing to offer. Joe Shane even said, are we sure anybody's going to give Saquon Barkley that much money? Howie Roseman did. The Razor, who do you see being the most impressive offensive weapon this year? My vote is Devontae Smith. I'm going to say A.J. Brown just because I think he is the best wide receiver on the team, and he's a top 5, top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. His relentless pursuit of being a great player is admirable. It's something that I really respect. All of the chatter about him being a bad teammate, ridiculous. Standing up for Saquon Barkley after seeing that aforementioned Hard Knocks clip. He goes to Devontae Smith's celebrity charity softball game. He was at rookie minicamp following the draft after he signed a new deal for $32 million average annual value. So I like the guy. I love the player. I think A.J. Brown is really special in back-to-back years. He's probably had the 2 best consecutive seasons that any wide receiver in franchise history has had. Now, with that, that's not taking anything away from Devontae Smith. I think that both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, if healthy, they're going to both surpass 1,000 receiving yards. And Smith is one of the better wideouts in the NFL, too. Slick, smooth, good footwork, good route running, plays bigger than his size, tough as nails, loves ball. For the same reasons that I talked about with A.J. Brown, also respected by his teammates and the coaching staff, and a fan favorite because Philadelphia finally hit on a wide receiver. I think they're both really good this year. I also think Saquon is going to be a problem. Jacob, one of our real ones here on the show, biggest disappointment on offense prediction. That's a good question. I am high on Kellen Moore and what he can do as a play caller, play designer with this scheme. I think he gets the Eagles offense back on track. I think Jalen Hurts rebounds. I think A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith have big years. I might be disappointed in wide receiver 3 depending on who it is because I don't think the Eagles are good enough there right now. I think Saquon can have a Christian McCaffrey-like impact for Philadelphia. He has played under some horrific offensive lines with the Giants. Now he has an elite one with the Eagles. Dallas Goedert, I guess I could be disappointed in if he has another subpar year or gets injured again. Or if Cam Jurgens doesn't work out at center, that would stink because I think he has a lot of ability. Tyler Steen at right guard, if he can't claim that job, that would be a disappointment. But if Mekhi Becton takes over for him, is that kind of a win-win? Because then you have another mauler on the interior? Good question, though. You want to know about a good deal? Brotherly Shove shirts. I have mine. I wear it all the time. It's one of my favorite morning shirts. Wake up, and before the workout, prior to work, sip some coffee, read a book on my balcony, rocking the Brotherly Shove shirt. How about this, too? I was reading Warren Sharp's football preview. The Eagles had, I think, a 92.7% success rate on the Brotherly Shove. All other teams in the NFL were hovering around something like 81%, and people wanted to play outlawed because they said everybody can do it. Clearly they can't. No one likes us. We don't care. Get your Brotherly Shove shirts today. Chatsports.com/Brotherly Shove on sale for just $22, limited time only. Dennis Designs, Dream Team Safeties. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Sidney Brown. The corners, Isaiah Rodgers, Quinion Mitchell. At nickel, Cooper DeJean. The linebackers, Zach Bond, Devin White, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And then the defensive line, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat. I think Reed Blankenship gets the first crack at safety, especially with Sidney Brown coming off that torn ACL that he suffered in December. At corner, I think it's going to be Slay who starts, but Isaiah Rodgers is going to maybe give him a run for his money or hold off Quinion Mitchell. At nickel, I agree. I think Cooper DeJean should and can win that job. Linebacker, it might only be 2 off-ball linebackers. If that's the case, you're right. It could be Zach Bond, Devin White. If Nakobe Dean can stay healthy, we'll see if he can unseat Bond, who is getting some first-team reps in the spring. And then along the defensive line, Nolan Smith going into a big year 2. I think Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, they break out in year 2. And Josh Sweat, can he rebound and get back to the 2022 form where he had 11 sacks? Andrew Nathan. Did you see ESPN's early 2025 mock draft? They had us selecting a safety in the first round. Let's see here. So the Eagles ended a drought of not taking a corner since 2002 in Lito Shepherd when they took Quinion Mitchell. And let's see who they had the Eagles taking with their 2025 mock draft. Early predictions for the first round picks. Matt Miller, ESPN draft analyst, putting this mock draft together. And the Eagles take Malachi Stark, safety out of Georgia, as Howie Roseman goes back to the Bulldog bloodline. Make your jokes, Matt Miller says, about Philadelphia drafting a defender from Georgia, but Starks would fill a big hole for the 2025 Eagles. He was a consensus first-team All-American in 2023 after grabbing 3 picks and making 52 tackles. And Starks is a do-it-all safety who has experience playing press coverage in the slot. You're going to hear comparisons to Kyle Hamilton, and they're warranted given his 3-down impact. What's interesting about that, Philadelphia could have had Kyle Hamilton. They traded up to take Jordan Davis. Revisionist history, we'll certainly see, but I do like Malachi Starks as a player, and that has me even more excited for college football. Especially when you go down to the South or the Southwest, like if you go down to the South, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, or if you go, Midwest or Southwest, Dallas, Oklahoma, the fever of college football is intense, man. Like, it is something that is really fun to experience if you ever visit that part of the country. And after experiencing some Southern and Southwestern cultural college football Saturdays, it gets you hooked. So I can't wait for that. I'll always be an NFL guy, but looking forward to the college football season because then we can start scouting these players who could be future Eagles. Magic Man, can the Birds avoid a slow start with all of the new coaches and a new offense? That was an issue last year. Not only did they start the season slow, they started games slow. And be sure to look on the channel right now. I put out a video by the time you're watching this. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Explaining why the Eagles will be a problem in 2024. There was a huge decline in the way that they started games and having halftime leads from 2022 to 2023. Now, I understand that they're going to be learning new schemes, but what could help the Eagles avoid that is that Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore are just so much more experienced as compared to Brian Johnson and Sean Desai, who were not experienced at all, if you see what I'm saying. Gregory Weiler, Eagles or Phillies? All right, so I grew up in the Philadelphia area, and the Eagles, since I was like 4 years old, they got me hooked to sports. And I'll always have Eagles number one. But baseball was my first love because I played baseball growing up, sometimes multiple leagues every summer, and I love the game of baseball. Philadelphia is a great baseball town. Eagles, they will always own the city as far as being a football town, win or lose. When the Phillies are winning like they are right now and over the last 3 years, you go to Citizens Bank Park, it's majestic. I mean, it's an incredible atmosphere that is intense, that is lively, that is electric. No other baseball stadium or environment comes close. But when the Phillies are losing, you have those 81 games, and it's a lot to spend a lot of money at the ballpark when the team is losing. But again, when the Phillies are good, it's awesome. So Eagles number one, Phillies number two for me in my Philadelphia sports team's pecking order. Sixers a close second, and then Flyers are a distant fourth. When they were winning when I was growing up, making it to the Stanley Cup in the late 90s with Eric Lindros, they lost to the Red Wings. And then really in the early 2000s up until 2010, they were always a competitive team. And they made it to that Stanley Cup in 2010 against the Blackhawks and lost in a pretty tragic way. Since then, though, they've been awful. So Eagles, Phillies, I love them both. Harry Callis, legendary Phillies play-by-play announcer, is the reason why I fell in love with sports broadcasting. Eagles the reason I fell in love with sports, and the Phillies are part of that as well. There you go, Gregory. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports, bringing you informative, entertaining, insightful Eagles content every single day that you can be a part of. Oh! During the mailbag, Dennis Designs again. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. He said, get some dinner. Dennis, with that super chat, Chip and I, we might have to DoorDash something. Sit rooftop, looking at the skyline that's behind Chip right now and get some grub.
Look at that view.
Thank you for that $50 super chat, my brother. All right, so what do you want for your beer bong?
Just Happy Dad.
Happy Dad. Do you want the Freedom Funnel? Do you want an actual beer bong?
I'll take the Freedom Funnel.
Freedom Funnel.
Still in the 4th of July spirit.
All right, I'm going to fill up the beer boot. So I'm going to do that. We're going to pop Chip up. And Dennis Design sending in three $50 super chats. So I'm taking down the boot, Chip taking down the beer bong, and we'll do that here in just a moment. Then we'll sign off and we'll call it.
We also got this from Angela.
Angela G. You read that out, Chip.
All glory to God. I'm cancer-free. All tests are clear. Angela, just amazing news. Shout out to Angela. Much love. That's awesome to hear, Angela. That's just awesome to hear. F cancer. Everybody who's been affected by it, been around somebody with it. Angela, that's awesome to hear. We love you. We love you. So happy for you. Much love to Angela. And Angela says, I'm South Philly born and raised, will always be a Phillies fan. But once I got in football and worked a few years for the Eagles, baseball is just too slow to watch. I will say, what baseball has done with the pitch clock, I didn't know if I was going to be a fan, how it was going to impact the game. But I do think it's done a good job of speeding up the game just enough to where, the game's moving along, but I also don't feel like it's being rushed along either. So a good job there by the MLB. For me, I do have memories of watching the Phillies as a kid, growing up during that 2008 run. I was just 7 years old and watching them after that. But then once I turned 12, 13, baseball to me just, I was terrible at it. I played it a little bit growing up, and I was always awful. And I just fell more in love with football and basketball. So I just watched those more. But I will say, since the Phillies have been, good again these past couple of years, I watch almost every Phillies game. I try to catch a lot of them, at least turn them on while I'm cooking or eating or, doing something else. I like to always have it on. I've been to a few games. Now that I'm in Dallas, I don't really have the chance to go to many games. And the Phillies don't come to play the Rangers in Texas this year. They played in Philly, so. David, why no response to my question? What was your question? See if I can find it in here. I can pop it up on the screen for you so we can answer it. Oh, here it is. Sorry about that, David. Didn't get that in the video. But we'll answer for you now. Better season, CMC or Saquon? It's tough. CMC is just such a productive back because of how much they give him the ball and how much they lean on him. Especially if they lose Ayuk, he's going to be almost their best receiver and best rusher. Now, Saquon, I think, is going to have a great season. And the Giants are going to regret letting him go. And John Mara is going to be having nightmares about it. As he said, I'm not going to be able to sleep if we lose Saquon. So I think CMC, might have better statistical numbers just because he is just ridiculous. But I think Saquon can be comparable at least.
So I actually just put out this video on my X page that has to do with Saquon, David. So for years, Saquon had to run behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. The last 2 years, the Giants in run block win percentage ranked 31st, 26th. Philadelphia, 1st and 2nd. The last 3 years, the Giants in run block win percentage 30th, 14th, 21st. The Eagles, 3rd, and 5th. So that's according to ESPN and Pro Football Focus. Now, Saquon gets to run behind that Eagles offensive line. The best skill player that he had on the offense with him, Odell Beckham Jr., that was for 1 year. Now he has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, and this offensive line. I'm also excited to see how Kellen Moore uses him. Okay, Dennis Designs from Upper Manhattan back to Florida into the Super Chats. Beer boot for Double D. LFG.
Let's go. Everyone type those chugs in the chat. As Chase taking down the boot, baby. Chug, 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 chug. He's making the turn, the bubbles, and he's on the home stretch here. Woo! Look at that. That's a pro. That's how a pro does it, baby.
All right. Here is Chip's Freedom Funnel.
Thank you, sir. A little wild cherry. How'd you know? It's my favorite.
Oh, is it? Well, I know you like popping the cherry, so that's why I got you a wild cherry.
Quick pause. Hey, we can keep going now.
Yee!
What are the people going on about right now? Ratio, arguing about Dak, Tom Brady. What's going on in here?
What are people saying?
I don't know. There's something going on about Tom Brady and Dak. I'm not really sure where they started here.
Let's see. Let's do some research here.
I think it's because Andrew Nathan says Eagles going to sweep the Cowboys. Ratio said that's a laugh, I think.
Well, I guess Dak Prescott did give Tom Brady his final loss.
Yeah, now people are arguing about Dak. I see. Dak stinks.
He was the last quarterback to beat Brady. Congrats, he did it in the wild card round.
Ratio's a Cowboys fan here, huh? Is that what's going on? Is that a little cowboy hat?
Abraham
Ortega.
He is a first time super chatter. Chase, are you more of a Niner fan or an Eagles fan? It's so funny to see people in the comment section saying, this guy's a front runner. This guy's a fraud. He covers both. I cover 32 teams in the NFL. I cover 30 teams in the NBA. And yes, I happen to run two of the most watched and biggest Eagles and Niners channels on YouTube. I grew up in Philly. Diehard Eagles fan when I was a kid. So I started watching Eagles games at like 4 years old. They helped form my love for sports. So the Eagles, my childhood team. Covering the Niners professionally has certainly helped change the trajectory of my career. But it's a lot of fun to watch good football because here at Chat Sports, there are some people who have to talk about teams every single day, and those teams kind of stink. And it would suck to not have a lot of juice behind those teams. For me, competitive teams year in, year out that are aggressive and really fun to watch. Dennis Design said, put that tall rookie at wide receiver 3. Johnny Wilson, tallest wideout in the NFL. Imagine him at the slot.
Imagine if he could catch the ball.
David Marcella, appreciate it, bro. Dennis, where did you fly into? Did you fly into Key West from Manhattan? Or did you fly into, like, Miami?
All right, I got my, you see right here, the Freedom Funnel. Look at this. Not much better than this, huh? Shout out to Dennis Designs for the 350s. I'm going to take this baby down here. Getting wild on a Wednesday, baby.
Everybody type chip in the chat. Chip in the chat.
Yes, sir. Dennis is saying chug. That means I got to chug, baby. Let's go.
Mar and some typing chug.
Woo!
Chip. There it is. Unspoken words. Chip in the chat.
Ooh.
Don Ackerley. Chip chug. Yo, isn't this crazy too?
A little wild cherry.
That we are less than a month away from Eagles preseason football?
Wow.
You heard that right. The Eagles will be playing their first preseason game on August 8th. It is July 10th. The return of watch parties here on Eagles Now.
Wow, it's been so long.
It's been a while since the Super Bowl. Also, our poll question today, which rookie will have a bigger impact? Good question, good results. 56% Quinion Mitchell, 44% Cooper DeJean. So very close there.
So Bryce Harper is not playing today because he hurt his hand.
Oh, no.
I thought they were holding him out because of the hammy, but it's his hand.
Didn't see any emails, Chase. What are you referring to there, Dennis? Emails for what? Let me know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see you email me.
Oh, Dennis.
Oh,
yeah.
I was trying to. So what I was saying was, I try to comment back on your comments, and YouTube doesn't let me. It always hits me with an error message. So I'm not sure if you have something set where I can't respond or other people can't respond. I always see your comments, so we didn't block you clearly. But when I try to respond to your stuff, I can only heart it and like it. So I don't know if you had to check your settings or if something's up there.
David Marcella might go to the Patriots-Eagles joint practice on August 13th.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, Ryan, so Bryce took a ball off the wrist, and Johan Rojas took a mean one off the wrist as well. Stayed in the game, but he's not playing either. Fastball up on that wrist. I thought Rojas might have really hurt himself. Hopefully, they're both going to be okay. Ugh. Good stuff today.
YouTube has been going crazy on my Firefox. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that's why. Maybe try Google Chrome, Safari. I have no idea. Or the YouTube app. That could work as well. But I don't know why that would be an issue. All right, we're going to sign off. Keep in mind, coverage still to come every single day. Obviously, once the preseason, regular season gets here, even more content in addition to our daily coverage here of the Birds right here on Eagles Now. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. It was an awesome Wednesday show, $156 in Super Chats. We love you. Appreciate the support. For Chip, I'm Chase for the Bird Gang. Go Birds. See ya.